Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's mini webinar series, part one of our three-part mini webinar series. Let me just check the time really quickly before we dive in. I will give folks one more moment to join. Just to introduce myself briefly before we dive in, right before I get us started. My name is Lorenzo Sabilia. I'm one of the account managers on the Giveffect client success team. Incredibly excited to connect with your teams here today in order to review just some very generally speaking year-end reporting best practices, specifically regarding customization of your year-end giving statements, your year-end tax receipts for your supporters, as well as as well as being able to run some of those really invaluable year-end reports that are the bread and butter for many of my clients. So really excited to have your teams here with me here today. And I'll give us one more moment before we get started, one more minute. Let's go ahead and get started. So again, welcome to our webinar series, part one of our webinar series. Today's session specifically is going to focus on giving statements, the customization of your giving statements, customization of your tax receipts, and also the best practices for running some of those really crucial year-end reports that are needed to keep your team afloat, right, going into your new fiscal and new calendar year. So as far as our agenda goes, once we finish our welcomes, right, and we finish our introductions, I will provide a brief overview of Giveffect, right? What is Giveffect? Just providing some brief definitions regarding some general items that I will be reviewing in today's session, right? As I know most of you are not yet Giveffect clients, right? Fingers crossed, we'll go ahead and change that. From there, we'll dive into year-end reporting for your board, right? Some different strategies that your team's leadership may utilize in order to, again, run those really basic yet crucial queries going into the top of your calendar or your new fiscal year. From there, we'll go into customizing our donors' giving statements, segueing from there into generating those same giving statements, even being able to generate those in mass versus generating those on a one-by-one basis. And then to close our session today, well, prior to going into the Q&A, but to close our webinar, we will review the ability to craft, or the importance, I should say, to craft personalized thank you messages, specifically with AI, but of course, right, personalized messaging, personalized appeals are incredibly important, regardless of whether or not your team is using AI, right? So we'll chop that up a little bit towards the end of our session. And then to close out, we will have a brief Q&A where I will answer any questions that your team may have throughout the course of this webinar. So I know I briefly introduced myself at the very top of our webinar here. My name is Lorenzo Sabilia. I am one of the account managers here on our client success team at Giveffect. Prior to coming to Giveffect at the end of 2021, or already over 2 years, but prior to coming to Giveffect at the very end of 2021, I served as an AmeriCorps Vista Fellow, specifically with the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Capital Region in Albany, New York, where I served as a resource development integration coordinator. So huge experience of working with nonprofits, right? Of course, I have my Boys and Girls Club experience, but I also have experience, more than likely, working with more nonprofits here in my role as an account manager at Giveffect. So really excited to dive in with you and your teams here today. So really briefly, right, just to ensure that we all get started on the same footing, right? What is Giveffect in the first place? So Giveffect offers an all-in-one Giveffect ultimately offers an all-in-one platform, right, for hosting your nonprofit and hosting all of the different mechanisms, functions, and modules that your nonprofit hosts. That ranges from online giving, right, an online point of sale system, to hosting your general relationship database, right. Of course, we do offer general CRM hosting capabilities, events, fundraising, right, being able to host not only general events and general ticket sales, general registrations, but also general fundraising initiatives directly through Giveffect. Of course, we do also offer volunteer management items, right? I should say not items, but an outright volunteer management module. So your entire volunteer management system can be hosted directly within Giveffect as well. Nonprofit management items, task management, interaction tracking, contact notes, right? All of those are also tracked and managed, or I should say can be tracked and managed using Giveffect. Those are our bread and butter, right? Those are the really big ones. Of course, we do also offer a membership management module, right? A mass marketing, mass communication module in the form of not only emails, but letter mail, right? Traditional snail mail communications as well. Grant management, moves management, web hosting, branded web pages, right? All in one, right? When I say all in one, I really do mean all in one. So we really do offer all of the tools necessary for nonprofits to host as many functions and as many different processes under one umbrella within one software as possible. And then the cookie on top, right? Our smart automation piece right here. Smart automation is what brings it all together. So our online giving, right? Our POS system is communicating with our events and fundraising system, which is communicating with our volunteer management system, which is communicating with our CRM, et cetera, et cetera. So not only do we have the capability to house all of these different modules under one roof, all of these modules are talking to each other and communicating with each other via the power of our native smart automation. Okay, so get your bang for your buck, that's for sure. So moving into strategies, let me go ahead and move my cameras here. Strategies for year-end reporting, right, specifically is contextualized by we mentioned your board here, but these are really different strategies that can be utilized by your board, by your development folks, by your, different members of your leadership team, whatever the case may be. So getting started here, right? Recurring gift revenue. Specifically, I'm going to focus on the growth report here, at least what it looks like to quantify and query on this information within Giveffect. But ultimately, recurring gifts, right? Not only your donors giving you a one-time, a lump sum gift of, let's just say $100, but giving you $100 every single month and automating that gift so that that $100 is pulled from their account automatically every single month, right? Recurring gifts, we'll go a little bit more into depth on this in a few moments, but recurring gifts represent a huge chunk of the potential earnings your organization can collect via online giving. We also will review peer-to-peer fundraising, right, as contextualized by querying on peer-to-peer fundraising and the performance of your peer-to-peer fundraisers. So of course, within Giveffect, right, we have not only the ability to host fundraising events, but we could also program our fundraising events to have a peer-to-peer fundraising component so that our supporters are fundraising on our behalf, right? Not only are donations just being promoted by not only is this campaign being promoted by our team internally, our supporters are also promoting and collecting donations through this campaign as a peer-to-peer fundraiser. So not only will we go over recurring gift revenue, we'll also go over peer-to-peer fundraising, how important it is to have this available as a mechanism within your fundraising schemes, right? As this allows for your fundraising footprint to be increased. And then we'll also review the major donor cultivation and conversion processes. Again, we have mechanisms within Giveffect dedicated to hosting major gift cultivation and conversion, but really we'll be focusing these conversations on how recurring gifts, peer-to-peer fundraising, and major donor cultivation are all incredibly important for your organization, regardless of the type of software that you adopt, excuse me. So as far as as far as recurring gifts go, right, maximizing our impact with recurring donations. So these are just some general statistics. Again, not even looking at Giveffect, just looking at the sector as a whole, right? So data ultimately shows that monthly giving is on the rise. Over 28% of online donations in 2023 were recurring gifts, right? They were monthly gifts. That's just under 1/3 of online gifts made last year. These were gifts that were programmed to repeat at a given frequency, right? No intermediary steps need to be taken either on the donor's end or on your team's end when it comes to managing these recurring payments. As soon as the donor opts to make their recurring payment and they make their initial gift, that payment is automatically going to be charged, right? Until whenever the program end date passes. So ultimately, the average monthly online donation is $52, right? Which amounts to $624 a year. That's a lot of money, right? This is greater than the average one-time gift of $128. So if a donor ever approaches you and says, hey, right, what's more beneficial for your organization? If I give you guys $150 one time, or if I give you guys $30 every single month in perpetuity, right? That $30 gift, that this donor is going to make in perpetuity, that's guaranteed, right? They're always going to be making that gift. That gift is automatically going to be pulled from their payment method and live within your bank account whenever their scheduled due date occurs, right? So just because of the lack of manual steps that need to be taken, both on your team's end and on the donor's end, I would say encourage them to give that recurring payment, right? Even though the actual amount is less, right? I am fairly confident that this donor wanting to give a recurring payment is a good enough sign that they will be having that recurring payment remain active long enough to surpass the amount that they would have just given with that one-time $150 gift. All right. And then when it comes to the actual, which of our donors, what's the donor demographic that's giving recurring donations the most, right? That's giving monthly payments at the highest clip, right? 52% of millennials are more likely to donate monthly over a large one-time donation. And again, that makes sense, right? A lot of millennials, a lot of Gen Z kids, right, as they get a little bit older, they may not have the means to give one fat gift, right, at once. But they do have the means to give you a recurring gift that's a little bit less every single month, right? Again, those recurring gifts do add up. So when it comes to Giveffect, right, and I'm going to jump back a little bit here, or I should say, before we go into Giveffect, right, being able to query on recurring gifts and being able to query on those repeating gifts and how much of your how much of your net donations received are actually or have been received through that recurring gift mechanism, right, through that monthly payment mechanism. Within Giveffect, we're easily able to query on this information on a year-to-year growth basis using our canned growth report, right? So you'll notice, again, currently I'm in Giveffect right now. I'm in our reports side tab, and this reports side tab houses all of our canned reports. These are reports that are hard-coded directly into Giveffect and can be generated at the click of a button just by selecting these reports, all right? So I have my donations growth report pulled up here. Specifically, what this report is looking at is this report, right, based on the years that I'm comparing. We could see right here, I'm comparing 2022 and 2023. What this report is going to calculate is the growth in donations between your selected years, right? So this report specifically will look at not only the amount received, right, the difference in the amount received from 2022 to 2023. This report will also look at the size of these donations received between 2022 to 2023, right? How big was our average donation in 2022, and how does that compare to our average donation in 2023, right? So if I scroll down a little bit, right, we have our scoreboard values here. We could see the number of years that have been compared, the number of total donations flagged within this report, as well as the total amount raised. That's a lot of money, right, in those 2 years combined. Now, one other thing I will note about this report, currently, I have an advanced search filter baked right into this report. What this advanced search filter is specifically going to look at is our growth from 2022 to 2023, but only looking at donations associated with a recurring profile. A recurring profile within Giveffect is our, right, that's indicative of our recurring gifts, right, our monthly gifts. So here I have recurring, right, recurring is true. This means that we're only going to look at, right, this growth report is only going to look at the growth from 2022 to 2023 as contextualized by recurring gifts. Okay. So from 2022 to 2023, as we could see, right down here at the bottom, we received 1,080 total recurring donations, right? Different donations associated with the recurring profile in 2022. In 2023, that number increased to 1,284, right? So we've received more recurring donations in 2023 than we did in 2022. That being said, what's interesting about this report, now remember, we're in the Giveffect demo, so we're playing with a lot of demo data, right? A lot of dummy data, but we could see our total raised via recurring payments in 2022 was much higher than the total raised by recurring payments in 2023, right? So all that's to say, when I review this report, right, as a member of my team's leadership, I'd probably say, oh my God, we need to step our game up in 2024 in order to, right, make back some of that revenue, some of that recurring payment revenue. Okay. So those are recurring payments. Moving on, participant, right? Peer-to-peer fundraising, participants in our peer-to-peer summary. So peer-to-peer fundraising empowers your individual supporters in groups to fundraise on your team's behalf, right? So maybe your team is in a rut, right? Maybe you use, you reach out to the same donors every single year. You send the same contacts, the same mass marketing appeals every single year. You're not sure what exactly to turn to, right, in order to grow your donor base. One item you could potentially utilize is peer-to-peer fundraising. Peer-to-peer fundraising is nice because this allows your team not only to create your fundraising initiative, but to allow your supporters to fundraise on your behalf through that initiative, right? So you have your campaign, right? You have your main fundraising initiative. From there, anyone can sign up in order to fundraise on your behalf, right? What that allows for is maybe we have Joe Smith, who's been donating to us forever. He signs up to be a peer-to-peer fundraiser, and maybe, through our campaign, and maybe Joe just, doesn't tell his family that he's, involved within our organization. I mean, stranger things have happened, right? That peer-to-peer fundraiser, right? Joe signing up to be a peer-to-peer fundraiser through that campaign and circulating, promoting our campaign or that campaign on our behalf, that would serve as a great opportunity for Joe to share our organization and the great things we do with his family and with his friends, right? At that point, they probably say, Joe, I never knew you were, or you were volunteering with Team Giveffect all this time. Why didn't you say so? Of course, I'll give to this peer-to-peer fundraising campaign, those types of items, right? So peer-to-peer fundraising, a great tool that allows for your organization not only to increase the breadth in which you can fundraise, but also being able to increase the breadth in which you can promote your campaign and increase that radius there. Okay. What's nice about peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns is that they can be utilized either in the context of individuals, right, or in the context of groups, right? We do also have team fundraising campaigns, which are really, really useful because, right, the more the merrier. That involves a lot more individuals banding together into a team and then fundraising on your behalf, right? Further increasing that fundraising footprint, that potential fundraising footprint. So a pro tip here, right? Of course, not by any means required, but a nice little tip here, add gamification for friendly competition within your fundraising campaigns. Whichever peer-to-peer fundraiser raises the most money within our campaign, maybe they get a, happy hour on us, right? With them and 3 of their closest friends, right? As an example, right? Just being able to add those incentives in order for your fundraisers to perform as highly as they possibly can. So in the context of peer-to-peer fundraising, all right, I'm going to jump back over to the report side tab within Giveffect. And you can see I opened up a participants summary report. Again, this is a canned report, and specifically I'm looking at the Giveffect Combine for Life. All right. As we could see currently, we have 13 fundraising participants within this campaign. If I scroll down and actually view the campaign result, or excuse me, the report results, right, skipping over all of these different pie graphs and bar graphs, I'll be able to see not only the goal, the specified goal for each of my fundraising participants, but also the amount they raised in relation to their goal. So as we could see, right, it seems I only have a few folks that met their goal in my combine, right? So what that would tell me as a user is that I would need to get on these folks, right? Further encourage them to keep fundraising and to keep reaching out to their respective networks, right? To encourage fundraising. Okay. So that is our participant summary, right? And just speaking on your ability to manage peer-to-peer fundraisers. Jumping into our major donor management, and I won't spend a ton of time on major gifts, major donors. Within Giveffect, we do have the ability to track major gifts. Now, speaking broadly, right, sector-wide, not just speaking within the context of Giveffect, major gifts or major gift cultivation, major donor cultivation is incredibly important, right? Because this allows for your organization, your development team to build better relationships with your donors, right? The better your donors know you, the more likely they are to give and to encourage their friends to give to your organization, right? Now, I refer to major gifts here. When I say major, this could be a gift of any size. It doesn't have to be a $5,000 or above gift. This could be a $500 gift, right? Really, that is up to your team to determine that threshold in which, right, where do we want to cut this major gift usage off for, right? Because of course we wouldn't want to use this to track every single $10, $5 gift that may come our way, but we definitely do want to use it to track those larger gifts. The major reason for major gifts, right, that we want to use this subsection of the system is a couple of reasons. One, we're able to, as we're creating our different major gift records, we're able to push these through the different stages of the major gift life cycle, right? So we could see the different subsections within the major gift mega section here. These are all dedicated to the different life cycles, the different subcycles within a major gift records life cycle. All right. So of course, as we create our major gift record, we're able to push it through each of these different stages. And then what's also really nice about a major gift is that tasks, interactions, notes, right? All of these different mechanisms and tools are able to be associated directly with a major gift, so it could be further contextualized within your system, right? That relationship with this major donor can be further contextualized. So as I could see for Wendell here, right, currently no interactions, right? But if I really wanted to, I would be able to see every single interaction that was held with Wendell here in relevance to this major gift opportunity, right? The same could also be said for tasks, notes, and we're also able to play around with the actual allocation of this major gift, how this money is going to be allocated within our organization's programs. Okay, so moving on from major gifts, I do want to dive into annual statements, right? So of course, another big year-end to do for a lot of teams is generating your year-end giving statements, right? So ultimately, when it comes to year-end giving statements, I've seen some teams include tax receipts for these. I've seen some teams opt not to include tax receipts within their year-end giving statements, right? The information included within your year-end giving statements is completely up to you and your organization, right? So the first step here when customizing your year-end giving statements is to determine what giving information you want conveyed to your donors, right? Once you are on the same page with the rest of your team about what information is included here, it's time to actually craft your annual statement and to personalize it accordingly, right? So jumping back into Giveffect, just to give your teams an idea of what this would look like within our platform, right? We would go to the annual statement template editing section, right? From here, we're able to play around with the layout settings for our annual statement template. Of course, our body, right? Very straightforward. We're able to play around with the verbiage included within our annual statement template directly from there. We also have access to our replacement variables. You may have heard these referred to in previous softwares as merge fields. These allow for your communications, not just your annual statement template, but your emails, your letter mail correspondences, your text messages if you purchase that add-on through Giveffect. These replacement variables allow for your communications to be personalized, regardless of how many contacts, how many folks are receiving this communication. So as we could see here, right, contact name, when I receive this annual statement, it's going to say Lorenzo Sabilia, right? When my boss receives this annual statement, it's going to say Jack Harrison, right? So these replacement variables completely personalize, right, personalize the message based on the data on file for the contacts, right, the relevant contacts. All right. And then what's also nice about these annual statement templates, right, and generating these annual statement templates is that you're also able to pick and choose what data associated with your contacts' donations are included within the annual statement as well. Okay. So for some reason, if you wanted to include campaign information for your contacts' relevant donation campaigns, right? If you wanted those included directly within your annual statement, you're absolutely, able to do so. Okay, so then moving on, generating our annual statements, right? Generating our giving statements and tax receipts from here, right? Once you determine what information you want included within the actual annual statement communication itself, from here, it's going to be time to actually generate your annual statements, right? So what's nice about generating annual statements within Giveffect is that we are able to pick and choose, right? Whether we wanted to generate these on the basis of a calendar year or a fiscal year, we're also able to pick and choose the actual fiscal or calendar year that we wanted to generate these for. And then on top of that, we're also able to bake additional advanced search filters on top of our annual statements. So if I wanted to generate annual statements for the contacts that only reside within a specific contact group, I'm able to do that, right? Depending on what system you come from, we're also able to group annual statements on the basis of households. If you ever have couples or spouses that have, or excuse me, that share contact records, right? Because you would want them to receive shared communications, right? Giveffect allows for those folks to be created as separate contacts so they don't have to share an individual contact record and to be grouped via the household function. When it comes to generating annual statements, right, these could also be grouped on the basis of household for the purpose of saving mail, right? Saving paper, saving the trees. So from here, when it comes to annual statement generation directly within Giveffect, what's really nice is that we have the ability to either generate these as a PDF with tax receipts or as a PDF without tax receipts. We also have the ability to email these out directly if we ever wanted to do that. And then taking one step further, we're able to mass generate these as emails, or excuse me, mass generate these as PDFs. And we're also able to mass email these out to all of our contacts directly through Giveffect. Okay. And then to close us out here for our Q&A, crafting a personalized appeal. I know I touched on replacement variables a little bit, right? But when it comes to crafting a personalized appeal within Giveffect, or comes to crafting personalized appeal period, right? Of course, the biggest item there is personalizing the appeal, of course, right? But personalizing it using your contact's interests, using their data, right? The data that you have on file, using all of those meaningful interactions and meaningful data markers in order to actually personalize these communications. That's going to be key. So again, within Giveffect, right, to reference our replacement variables, we are able to use these in order to personalize our communications. What's really nice here is that we have suggested giving replacement variables, right? So let's say I include one of these within my email campaign as an example, right? The greater of the average donation amount or $50. When I receive this email, Giveffect is going to look at my donor profile. It's going to calculate the average for all of the gifts I've ever made. Then based on whether the average, right, my average gift amount or $50 is higher, Giveffect is going to prompt, right, the higher of those two values to be what I'm suggested to give, right? What I'm prompted to give in the email. Okay, so that's really nice there. Of course, we also have replacement variables dedicated to volunteer summary information. So being able to include volunteer data directly within your communications, also being able to include just general giving summary information is really nice as well. And that will do it. Not much time before we go into the Q&A, but I will note too, consider the use of AI as a pro tip, right? AI, one of the most emerging items in our sector today, one of the highest, fastest emerging tools. Definitely feel free to consult AI tools such as ChatGPT in order to craft your personalized engagements and communications. So all that being said, thank you all so much for joining me for today's session. We have a few minutes for the Q&A. I'm working every day on being better about my brevity, so I consider that one a huge win. Being able to plow through that one. But any questions, items of feedback, more than happy to address those now while we have a few more minutes. I can pull up the chat window too if you guys wanted to either pop those in the chat. Does Giveffect offer mailing services? Technically, We don't offer direct mailing services in the sense that, we would be able to mail everything on your behalf, right, directly through the system. But we do offer the ability for folks to create letter mail templates and correspondences directly through Giveffect. And the way that looks very similar to the annual statement template creation process that we just overviewed together, right? So we have our ability to craft our mail template. We have our replacement variables, so we're able to personalize our letter mail templates as much as we possibly would like to, right? And then in order to generate these, let me jump back over to the contact section of my CRM. I'm in donations, but we're also able to generate letter mail templates off of either donation or contact records. We're also able to generate those en masse too, right? All I would have to do is print selected thank you templates, and then I would select from that list accordingly. Great question. Yes, I can. So this is our AI writer. We do offer a native AI writer within Giveffect. It is available as an add-on for purchase for, I believe it's Ultimate, Light, and Below tiers. However, it is available right for purchase as an add-on if your teams were available, or if your teams are interested, excuse me. Arthur, this is our AI companion, right? Our AI writer. It functions very, very, very similarly to ChatGPT. The major difference, and this is actually something personally I prefer, right, about our AI writer as opposed to ChatGPT, is ChatGPT requires you, if you've ever played with it, right, it's essentially talking to the robot is very similar to texting somebody, right? There isn't, your prompt creation process is not like this. So you essentially, the information the AI provides for you in ChatGPT, right, is going to be as good as the information you provide to it, right? When it comes to Giveffect's AI writer, what I prefer about it is that we give you these prompt dialogue options right here. So instead of having to be a prompt wizard, right, and knowing how to communicate with ChatGPT, just input your prompt information right from here, right? I'm writing an email, let's say to donors under the age of 25. We could play around with the tone of voice, the language, the length. I'll just, keep it short and sweet. Soliciting donations for Giving Tuesday, we'll keep that. And then we're also able to add additional context right down here, right? So I could go ahead, have Arthur write something up for us really quickly. Then there we go, once this generates, right, this AI is going to give us a scaringly good, scarily good communication. So join the Giving Tuesday movement and make a difference today. Hey, donor's name, right? Example of a replacement variable right there. So even the AI is utilizing our replacement variables. Are you ready to make a difference, right? Giving Tuesday is just around the corner, and we couldn't be more excited to have you on board. As a generous supporter for our cause, we wanted to reach out to you before the big day to let you know that now is the best time to give. By making a donation today, you'll be ahead of the game and contribute to our mission in a meaningful way, right? And then we can also see additional context here. This note about donations greater than $200 get a plaque, right? That was also included directly within our crafted communication. Again, what's nice about this AI writer that ChatGPT doesn't have is that if you didn't include this little, 200 item, right? Or I should say, if you included this within your ChatGPT prompt, there isn't even a guarantee that ChatGPT would acknowledge it in the way that you want to acknowledge, right? Again, that's something I prefer about our AI writer is that this, these different data fields allow for folks to play around with your prompt creation accordingly, right? You don't have to know exactly how to talk to the AI because we guide you through it. All right, excellent. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining. Please join us for the rest of our series, or the rest of the webinars as a part of this mini webinar series, which can be found by using the QR code on the left. And you will be emailed and follow up with access to the recording, or you could schedule a demo. So go ahead, please refer to these QR codes in order to sign up for our follow-up webinars as part of this series. Those are going to occur on January 31st and February 14th. And then also feel free to use our other QR code here in order to schedule a personalized demo. So it's been my pleasure to be here with all of you today, to be here for this webinar. Stay warm regardless of where you are across the country. And I hope that you all have a fantastic rest of your day. I look forward to speaking with all of you again soon. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.